The movie begins at a local harbor, where Tyler and his date Margot are waiting for a boat to take them to a private island. Their destination is Hawthorne, an extremely exclusive restaurant run by the country's top chef. Tyler, a food enthusiast, is obsessed with this chef and the intricacies of fine dining. When the boat arrives, they are surprised to see how many influential people will be joining them. Among the passengers are Lillian, the food critic who discovered the chef, and her editor Ted, George, a past his prime actor, and his assistant and girlfriend Felicity, and a trio of prominent tech investors, Dave, Soren, and Bryce. Margot is particularly uncomfortable when she spots businessman Richard and his wife Anne, as she knows Richard and doesn't want him to recognize her, so she tries to avoid his gaze. During the trip, they are served their first gourmet dish, which Tyler eagerly photographs and raves about, though Margot remains unimpressed. Upon arriving at the island, the maitre d', Elsa, mistakenly calls Margot by a different name. Tyler awkwardly explains that there was a change of plans and he brought a different date, creating an uncomfortable situation. Before dining, the guests are taken on a tour. Elsa shows them the restaurant's facilities, explaining that the employees do all the hunting and farming, which is why they all live on the island. The chef also lives there, but his house is off limits. After the tour, they enter the restaurant and see that the kitchen is an open space where they can watch the cooks work. An old lady named Linda sits at one of the tables, looking out of place. Richard finally notices Margot and asks his wife to switch seats. Elsa informs the guests that they can watch the cooks, but aren't allowed to take pictures. Tyler gets excited and starts pointing out the cooking techniques, asking so many questions that the cooks have to ask him to stop. At that moment, Chef Slowick arrives, and Elsa whispers something to him that makes him stare at Margot. The first dish, a complimentary appetizer, is served. Lillian, the food critic, takes her time smelling and tasting everything carefully. Moments later, the first course is served. Slowick claps his hands, and all the cooks turn around simultaneously, like well-trained soldiers. He gives a speech about his work. He addresses his guests, urging them not just to eat, but to taste, savor, relish, and feel the food. He explains the significance of the dish, though Margot can't quite grasp his monologue. However, it brings Tyler to tears. Tyler continues to take pictures, expressing his love for the place, while Margot dismisses the food as average. For the second course, Slowick claps again and explains that bread is the food of the common man, so his guests, being special, won't get any. Instead, they receive an extremely small portions of 5 different sauces, but no bread, as he considers bread to be the food of peasants. Tyler loves it, but Margot finds it insulting. Lillian, the critic, notes that the emulsion looks slightly split, and in response, the staff sends a whole bowl of it to her table. The tech investors think the joke has gone too far and ask for bread, pointing out they work for Doug Verrick, the island's owner. Elsa creepily tells them they will eat less than they desire and more than they deserve. Margot refuses to eat her dish. When Tyler tries to take it, he accidentally breaks a glass. Slowick immediately approaches the table. Tyler apologizes, but Slowick is more interested in why Margot isn't eating. Margot says there is no food, and Slowick replies that the portions are designed so that if she doesn't eat, she won't fill up. Margot still refuses, offending Slowick, who then surprises everyone by gently checking on Linda. Margot glances at Richard, and Anne notices, remarking that Margot looks like their dead daughter. Richard pretends not to know Margot and asks his wife to change the subject. With another clap, Slowick introduces the third course, called Memory. He shares a personal story about his family's taco nights, revealing that Linda, who is present, is his mother and has been an alcoholic since he was a child. His father was a drunk as well, and one night when Linda confronted him, he tried to strangle her with a phone cord. To protect his mother, young Slowick stabbed his father in the thigh with a pair of scissors, but now he regrets not killing him. To commemorate that traumatic night, the dish is a smoked chicken thigh with a pair of scissors stuck in it, served on a phone cord. The tortillas, made fresh, have been engraved with a laser machine for a unique touch. Everyone is unsettled by Slowick's story, but the situation becomes even more tense when they see the images engraved on the tortillas. Lillian finds pictures of restaurants that closed due to her negative reviews. Anne is shocked to see photos revealing her husband's private life, including one of Richard with another woman, which he insists is just a prank. George discovers images from his failed movie, Dr. Sunshine, while the tech investors find their company's tax records, exposing fake invoices. When they demand an explanation, Elsa refuses to reveal how the information was obtained. The men threaten to shut down the restaurant, but Elsa cryptically assures them it won't be necessary. Tyler sees an image of himself taking pictures of the food and fears that Slowick hates him. Margot feels insulted by the images and wants to send the dish back, but Tyler snaps at her, calling her childish for not behaving properly. Hurt, Margot decides to go to the bathroom. Elsa rushes to stop her from entering a forbidden silver door, but Margot makes it to the bathroom. There, she goes to the window to have a smoke and notices an employee running with a pair of angel wings in his arms. At that moment, Slowick approaches and asks why she refused to eat again, expressing that her attitude hurts him. Margot simply responds that she isn't very hungry. Slowick, suspicious, also asks who she really is. When she says she's just Margot from Nebraska, Slowick doesn't believe her. Shortly after, the cooks begin preparations for the fourth course, laying a piece of fabric and some decorations on the floor. Slowick introduces Jeremy, one of his sous chefs, and the creator of the next dish called The Mess. Jeremy, having studied at a prestigious culinary school, had always dreamed of working for Slowick. While Slowick acknowledges Jeremy's talent, he privately harbors doubts about Jeremy's abilities. Unlike Jeremy, Slowick feels his life is filled with pressure, not prestige, plagued by unhappy customers and unappreciative critics. When Slowick asks Jeremy if he truly desires such a life, Jeremy responds with a firm no. Slowick kisses Jeremy on both cheeks before Jeremy unexpectedly draws a gun, ending his own life in front of everyone. The other cooks watch solemnly, unsurprised by the turn of events, while the guests panic and retreat. Except for Tyler, who remains intrigued. As Jeremy's body is taken away, Slowick calmly asks everyone to resume their seats and accept this as part of the show. Guests begin debating whether the death was real or staged, prompting Richard to attempt to leave with Anne, only to be stopped by Elsa, who explains that there are no available boats. Richard persists, leading Elsa to order the chefs to restrain him and remove his wedding ring. As Richard writhes in pain, Elsa returns the fallen ring to Anne. Once more, Slowick explains that this is part of the menu, met with reluctant acceptance from Lillian, but growing fear from the others. Felicity urges George to talk to Slowick, believing they are friends, but George admits he fabricated their friendship to impress her. Elsa brings Margot to the kitchen, where Slowick bluntly informs her that she is mistaken about her identity. He can discern that she is not a Margot, which poses a problem because she wasn't part of the original menu plan. Slowick questions Margot's allegiance, whether she sides with the guests or the restaurant, though he remarks that it won't matter as everyone will perish tonight anyway. Distraught, Margot returns to her table in tears and slaps Tyler when he continues to discuss the food. The atmosphere in the restaurant becomes tense and nervous. Soren loses control and attempts to break a window with a chair, but the glass proves unbreakable. Elsa intervenes, escorting him back to his table. As the next course, a tea serving as a palate cleanser, is presented, Slowick seizes the opportunity to field questions from the guests. Tyler interjects with a light-hearted inquiry about the tea, but George steps in with a more serious query about the evening's proceedings. Slowick elucidates that they are experiencing a degustation concept, emphasizing that this should come as no surprise. He illustrates with examples, such as Lillian's discerning palate, which has been known to lead to the closure of restaurants. The cooks bring out another broken emulsion for Lillian, while Elsa delivers a kitchen timer to Margot, indicating she has 10 minutes. Anne's concern for Richard prompts her to request a doctor, prompting Slowick to highlight their loyalty as customers for 5 years. Slowick reveals his realization that, despite his efforts to become an exclusive chef, he has been catering to individuals who cannot be satisfied, much like his own mother. Despite repeatedly referring to the establishment as his restaurant, Bryce reminds him that the true owner is Doug Verrick. Slowick retorts that he effectively owns Doug himself, a claim substantiated when Doug, adorned with angel wings, is revealed hanging outside. Dave attempts to offer money to save Doug, only to be rebuffed by Slowick, who then prevents his escape with the help of the staff. Bryce points out Doug's support during the pandemic, but Slowick laments Doug's constant questioning of his menu choices. Elsa signals with her arms, and Doug is lowered into the sea until he drowns. Slowick declares he's finally free and retreats to his office. Suddenly, a timer at Margot's table rings, signaling her to see Slowick. Margot admits she shouldn't be there, and Slowick realizes she's also in the industry. He asks why she was staring at Richard, and Margot confesses she's a street worker. Richard had wanted her to pretend to be his daughter, which unsettled her. Slowick and Margot bond over their disdain for bad clients ruining their jobs. Slowick takes everyone outside, The next course, presented by sous chef Catherine, is called Man's Folly. Catherine stabs Slowick in the leg, prompting him to apologize. He allows all male guests a head start to run away, while Catherine takes the women inside for the next course. The women eat the sixth course with Catherine, who admits the idea for everyone dies was hers. Lillian's compliments make Catherine cry, and the other women follow suit to keep her happy. Anne asks Margot if she knows her husband, and Margot admits she does. Margot reveals her real name is Erin, and she's from Massachusetts. Outside, Tyler watches through the window, upset about missing a course. Meanwhile, the staff easily finds and brings back the men who ran away, including Ted, who hid in the smokehouse. Back at the restaurant, George sarcastically apologizes to Felicity for failing her, admitting he knew she'd been stealing from him. Slowick interrupts, saying they can't continue until they resolve something. He confronts Tyler, who confesses he knew the menu included everyone dies. Tyler reveals he hired Margot after being dumped, not caring if she died. Margot attacks Tyler, but the staff separates them. Slowick gifts Tyler a chef's uniform and insists he cook in front of everyone, even though Tyler doesn't want to. Tyler's cooking fails, and Slowick criticizes him, draining the mystery from his art. Slowick whispers something to Tyler, who runs away in tears. Slowick asks Margot for a favor, to get a barrel from the smokehouse. Margot finds Tyler dead on her way out, but continues. Back in the restaurant, Bryce is given a cake for his birthday. Margot returns with the barrel, and Slowick admits he used to be a monster, but now acts with purity. A boat approaches, and Margot used the radio to call for help. Coast Guard Dale enters, but no one speaks. He finds George and asks for an autograph, revealing he's a fan of George's show. Dale finds a note saying, "Help us," on the paper, pulling out a gun when he realizes Slowick is in danger. It turns out Dale is a staff member, and he returns to the kitchen. Slowick is disappointed in Margot for betraying him. Margot remembers Slowick's house, takes a risk, and calls attention to the meal's quality. She demands a cheeseburger instead, and Slowick smiles for the first time all day. He makes one for her, and she pays and leaves. In the final scene, Margot sees the restaurant burning, finishes her burger, and escapes. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.